it's just the more experience you get, I think the better view you get of these situations. And you know, like that 125 inch mark, it's a weird one, right? I've shot I think 3 bucks that all scored like right on 125, or like between 125 and 126. And one was a 10-pointer in northern Minnesota. One was a 6-pointer on public land here in the Twin Cities. And then one was an 8-pointer in North Dakota on public land. And if you put those bucks up next to one another, they look like totally different scores. Like the 10-pointer looks small, right?
Right.
Like he just looks like, you know, you look at him, you go, that's a nice buck, but it's not impressive. The 6-pointer that's 125 inches looks freaking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and then the 8-pointer looks pretty damn good too. And so there's like that weird perception too, where you pack a bunch of points in there and things get a little different. And so even then, talking about some arbitrary amount of inches, it's not universal, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, nothing really makes a good story. So speaking of staying in the mental game, when I shot that deer last year, I forgot my hunting boots and I was wearing boat shoes without socks. And it was like 30 degrees. So fortunately, my good buddy on the farm had killed his deer in archery season and brought me a pair of boots, because I shot that deer at 11 o'clock. There's no way I would have been in that stand at 11 o'clock in boat shoes. You know, like I was ready for fishing, but you know.
Yeah. Well, we do dumb shit and we forget stuff. You know.
Absolutely.
I mean, have you watched the latest release of those Meat Eater episodes on Netflix, the newest season?
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I loved about it was when Steve shot that. I think it was in Wyoming. The mule deer that he lost the tag on. Did you see that? Where he just showed that, like, there was a tag on here and the tag is gone. And then they ended up finding it later. And then they elk hunt in Colorado, where he goes out and the back part of his sight on his muzzleloader is just gonzo. So he gets out into the trailhead or wherever. And he's like, well, now I got a 8-pound paperweight here. Like, it doesn't do me any good. We don't see that enough out of the hunting industry, I think, like the real mistakes.
Yeah. And a lot more of that stuff is coming out with things like YouTube and like the Hunting Public and Steve and Meat Eater. Like, it's great to see those things, because I have so many people coming up to me being like, hey, I've been kind of following some of the stuff you're doing, and then I saw these guys are doing this thing, you know, and I saw this show on, you know, Meat Eater, and I'm really interested. And man, I didn't know all that stuff that goes into it. I thought you just go out and shoot something. And it's like, now I'm really interested, like, because it seems like there's more at stake. And, you know, I have a lot of interest from just people that I encounter at work being like, hey, how can I get into this? What can I do? Can you give me any pointers on what to do or how to get into it and things like that? So yeah, it's really cool to see stuff like that now.
It is. The new mediums are awesome for that. And the new wave of sort of hunting celebrity is it has leaned into that in a way. And part of it is we're just dealing with a different kind of people. And part of it is they're just recognizing like what makes a good story. Like you're talking about, like when you go out and kill one on opening day, it's cool, especially, you know, in the whitetail world, because you might have a whole bunch of, you know, scouting built in there, and you might have spring scouting and shed hunting and all. So you might have a good story there either way. Yeah. But you know, like everybody loves the story where you get your ass kicked for, you know, however long, and then somehow you finally come out on top. And so they're seeing that when you're creating content that you want people to relate to, showing the mistakes. Not only is it just a more genuine product, but it's also a more compelling product. Like people like it better.
Absolutely, and sometimes with on the mental side of things, everything is just luck. You know, speaking of that hunt, like I forgot my boots. I actually missed the deer before I shot it and jammed my gun, and he was gone, like in thick stuff that I couldn't see. And it ended up being that these does he was chasing came back into the woods with him, and he chased them and ended up paralleling my stand. And I was able to make, after jamming the gun and not getting a second shot at this deer, I'm like there kicking myself. And 15 minutes later, the deer comes back into my life, and I shot him, didn't look like he was hit. And I shot him running through the woods and ended up finding out that I shot him through the heart 3 times. Like, and, and, but everything had to work. Like I did a lot of wrong things that day. Like I forgot my hunting boots and was wearing boat shoes. I missed the deer on a 70-yard shot with a rifle in the middle of an open field. And then I shot him. My buddy always jokes that I always have to have a few branches in front of me before I actually make a good shot with a gun. But I shot him through thick stuff and hit him 3 times running. And like, I'm not a pro rifle shot. Like I've made some good shots with a rifle or whatever, but I'm average. Like I wouldn't say that I could be in a competition or something, but everything had to work out right for me to get that deer. And after, like you said, everybody likes the story of a grueling season. Like I shouldn't even been, statistically, I probably shouldn't even had an opportunity to add a deer like that. I already had seen like 2 or 3 mature bucks that I was really close to shooting, and it ended up being that I got a shot at that one, and everything had to fall into place for something like that to happen.
Yeah.